Billionaire's Mistress as a Hidden Heiress. A dark romance by author Anika.
Chapter 5. Aries saved Cara. This chapter contains mature themes, emotional intensity, and romantic scenes intended for adult readers, 18+. If you are sensitive to such content, please proceed with caution.
Aries was dining with his Russian clients at the best restaurant. Sasha kept calling him, but he rejected the calls and eventually sent a message, "We'll talk later. Don't disturb me." He glanced up, and his eyes met Alyona, the daughter of his Russian investor, who was throwing flirty glances in his direction. The look on her face was enough for Aries to understand what was coming next for him, and he intended to make the most of it. Simon, the Grayson Group's financial advisor and Aries' friend, smirked as he watched them steal glances at each other, while all Aries could think about were the hazel eyes he had seen in a flash of light the previous night. "Mr. Grayson, thank you for the lovely dinner," the Russian investor said. "The pleasure is all mine," Aries replied with a smile. "I was wondering, won't you show us the nightlife of your city?" Alyona raised an eyebrow. "Of course," Aries smirked. His eyes shifted to her father. "Would you like to join us?" "Oh, no, the old man needs some rest now," he laughed. "But you two enjoy." He wiped his mouth with a napkin and rose from his seat to leave. "I'll see you at the hotel," he told his daughter, briefly smiling at Aries before departing. "All right, I'll take my leave. See you at the office tomorrow," Simon said. "Have fun." He winked at Aries before leaving. "Let's go." Aries took Alyona's hand, and they headed to the club.
At the club, Cara stepped out wearing a crisp white shirt that contrasted sharply with her black mid-thigh skirt. She had layered her makeup carefully, her lips painted a striking cherry red that felt bolder than she truly was. Her dark blonde hair was pulled into a high ponytail, and kohl deepened the quiet mystery of her hazel eyes. "Unbutton the top 2 buttons of your shirt. Our waitresses need to appear hot and desirable." The manager's gaze moved slowly over her, measuring, judging. Cara's fingers turned cold under his stare. "Oh, okay." She hesitated only a second before undoing the buttons. The air against her skin felt unfamiliar, exposed. The manager left without another word. Lydia, a brunette with practiced confidence, approached and explained her duties. "Serve drinks. Easy job," she said lightly. "But be careful. Drunk men can get nasty. If you enjoy the attention, fine. If not, just stay quiet." Cara nodded, though something uneasy twisted inside her chest. "They're elite. One wrong move, and they can ruin you in seconds. You know how to deal with them, right?" Before Cara could answer, the manager called Lydia away. A tray of drinks was pressed into Cara's trembling hands, and then she was alone, swallowed by music, lights, and strangers. Cara nervously bit her lip as she carried the drinks to a table. The men clinked the glasses and shouted in excitement. Unaware of the intrusive glance from one of the men, whose eyes scrutinized her every curve, Cara gathered the empty glasses. Standing beside him, his girlfriend noticed everything and, in a rage, pushed Cara. "Fuck off, bitch," she sneered. The tray slipped from Cara's hand as she tripped on her high heels. She was about to hit the floor when a hand grabbed her wrist, saving the tray, while another arm wrapped around her waist to keep her from falling. Cara's grip reflexively tightened on the man's shoulder, and her eyes met his piercing gray gaze. Aries stared at her. The unfamiliar face stirred a strange sense of recognition, yet he couldn't place it. Cara's heart pounded as she continued to look at him, and it took her a few moments to compose herself. "Are you all right?" he asked. Aries helped her stand upright. Cara felt the weight of the tray in her hand, her words of gratitude poised on her lips, but before she could speak, Aries walked away with Alyona and disappeared into the bustling crowd. "Cara," the manager called. "Get behind the counter and help Jasper. But I don't know how to make drinks. Just follow whatever he says." The manager hurried off, and Cara rushed to the bar to assist Jasper, the bartender. Jasper grinned. "Welcome to my kingdom." He gestured to the rows of glasses and expensive bottles, and Cara giggled softly. Cara diligently did everything Jasper asked of her, and he was impressed by her calm, composed demeanor, so different from the other haughty waitresses. She attended to the guests at the bar, but from time to time, her eyes searched the crowd for Aries. She hoped to see him again.
The moment Aliona stepped into my company with her father, her beauty transfixed me, but I wanted her to make the first move. Why should men always make the first move? Shouldn't women sometimes be in charge of their own needs? On the dance floor, I raised Aliona's hand and spun her, pulling her back to me. I placed my hands on her hips, feeling them move as she danced. She looked over her shoulder at me through her smoky eyes and smirked. She rested her head in the crook of my shoulder, slightly raised her arms, and pressed her hips into me as I thrust against her. I suppressed a groan as she brushed her long hair aside, revealing her shoulder and part of her neck. She took my hand and guided it over the smooth fabric covering her stomach, stopping just beneath her breasts. I leaned in and nibbled her exposed shoulder before kissing my way up to her neck, and I felt her moan against my lips. Her hips pushed back against me, and her hands came up again to wrap around my shoulders. My other hand slid down past her hips, trailing to her thigh, teasing the hem of her dress and slowly slipping under it to caress her skin. She turned her head and caught my lips in a passionate kiss that left me stunned for a moment. I cupped her chin and deepened the kiss. "Let's get out of here," I whispered in her ear, thrusting forward to let her feel how desperately my cock wanted her. I clasped her wrist and made my way out of the crowd. Maybe fucking someone else who had hazel eyes would erase the memory of those hazel eyes I had been trying to forget.
Cara finally caught sight of Aries as he strolled toward the exit. She moved away from the bar to chase him, but Lydia stopped her and handed her a tray of drinks that needed to be served. Just as Cara disappeared into the crowd to serve the drinks, Keith Wilson, the man who had saved her from an accident, appeared at the entrance of the club. His eyes scanned the boisterous dance floor for his girlfriend, Natalie. He moved deeper into the crowd, pulling his phone from his jacket and dialing her number, but she didn't answer any of his calls. "Come on, Natalie," he groaned. Keith made his way to the bar. Exhausted after a long day at work, he ordered a drink and massaged his temples as the booming music worsened his headache. Cara came into view behind the counter. She let out a quiet sigh and set the tray down when she heard a male voice. "Scotch on the rocks, please," Keith said, and Cara turned toward him. "You," Keith squinted at her. "What are you doing here? You got the job right." As Cara opened her mouth to answer, Keith noticed Natalie's reflection in the mirror behind her. "Just a minute," he said to Cara. He turned to look for Natalie, but she was nowhere in sight. Sliding off the tall bar stool, he walked away, and Cara watched silently. Keith searched the dance floor, scanning every corner until his eyes finally landed on Natalie, and a surreal smile spread across his face. But in the very next moment, he saw a tattooed man pinning her against the wall near the staircase and kissing her.
Aries laced his fingers with Aliona's, and they sauntered out of the elevator and into his lavish suite. Once inside, Aliona kissed him passionately, pressing him against the door as her fingers unbuttoned his shirt. Aries smiled slyly. He didn't try to touch her or stop her. She kissed her way down his bare chest, but his silence left her frustrated. "Are you submissive?" she chuckled, wrapping her arms around his shoulders while Aries kept his hands in his pockets. "Only when I'm sure the woman can't handle my dominance," he smirked, raising an eyebrow. His gaze shifted from her face to her breasts. Aliona reacted in surprise and stepped back. She leaned against the rough wooden table and fixed her gaze on Aries. "How would you know if you won't try? Maybe I am more than you can imagine," she challenged, looking into his piercing gray eyes, and unzipped her dress, stepping out of it. Now she stood before him in a black lacy bra and panties, and Aries scratched his eyebrow, giving a charming smile. He took a step toward her, his fingers playing with the straps of her bra. "I hope you don't complain to your daddy tomorrow," he whispered into her ear. Aries pushed Aliona back onto the long wooden table and pressed his body against hers. His thumb came to rest on her lips, and when his gaze met Aliona's hazel eyes, his movement stopped. "Are you in a committed relationship? Is that what is stopping you?" Aliona felt his hesitation in the air as she saw uncertainty swimming in his eyes. Aries wet his lips, the memory of the kiss he had shared with a stranger in the dark alley still lingering in his mind, the kiss that had left a tingling sensation on his lips, a sensation he had sought to recreate with Sasha and Aliona but had failed to. His lack of control infuriated him. "I don't do relationships," he said, heading to the minibar to pour himself a glass of scotch. Aliona remained in her place and watched him as they heard a loud noise at the door. Aries grew increasingly irritated. He took a long stride and pulled open the door, only to see Sasha outside, in a rage. His appearance elicited a gasp of amazement from her as her eyes widened. She could see the faint lipstick mark on the corner of his mouth as he stood there shirtless, sipping his glass of scotch. Are you with someone right now? Sasha asked. Aries opened the door wide enough for her to see Aliona behind him. How could you? She shrieked, while Aries kept a stoic expression. You're in a fucking relationship with me. Arrangement, he corrected her. Whatever, I was faithful to you. Her expression was pained, but Aries was astute enough to distinguish between genuine and feigned emotions. I didn't ask you to be, he said. We had an arrangement, not a commitment. You were exploiting my reputation while I was using your body, so drop the act. You're heartless. Sasha glared at him. Aries grinned wickedly. Thanks for the compliment, he said, then closed the door in her face. Aliona sat cross-legged on the table, her long legs dangling over the edge. She parted her hair over one shoulder and watched Aries with an intense gaze as he walked over to her. You're a complicated man, she said. Aries smiled as he took a sip of his drink. I hope you're not planning to get tangled up. I don't do relationships either. Her slender fingers traced down his bare chest, stopping at his belt as she pulled him closer. Just a night of fun is enough. Shall we continue where we left off? She bit her lip seductively. Aries finished his drink and set the empty glass on the counter. His hand pulled her hair back. He stared into her hazel eyes and took her mouth in a passionate kiss. Aliona hooked her legs around his waist, and she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Unclasping her bra and throwing it away, he massaged her full breast, feeling her nipple grow hard under his touch, and he took one pebbled nipple into his mouth while his hand roughly played with the other one. Aliona moaned, pushing his head deeper into her chest. She grew impatient with each passing minute. His touch and tongue were doing something to her, and Aries could tell she was ready to beg and scream all night long. His hand skillfully moved down to grope her hips and rip off her panties. I won't settle for anything less than hard and fast. Aliona moaned.
Chapter 5 ends. If you want to know who will be Cara's savior, Aries Grayson or Keith Wilson, you won't want to miss the next chapter. Find the link in the description box. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this chapter, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming chapters.